No fancy gimmicks here, no fancy video, kids, just the facts. I'd like to demonstrate how we might arrive at an interpretation and use analysis to support that interpretation. Remember, the interpretation is the conclusion you arrive at, and this will form a thesis of sorts. For us, our interpretation has something to do with those two content questions. What does the devil tell us about ourselves and other people? How does the devil reflect the values and morality of a society? Note, the interpretation I'm offering here is for one story. Yours should be based on more than one story or poem. I tried to select an interpretation that no one else was likely to select, so I hope I'm not stealing anyone's thunder here. After reading Orange World, I thought there was a lot about women's bodies there. And after brainstorming a few ideas, I concluded that it had something to do specifically with the control of women's bodies. I felt Ray, and therefore our author Russell, was suggesting she no longer had control of her body. To support this interpretation, I needed to consider which parts of the story would help as evidence of my conclusion. These are the things like the style elements we've been looking at, or they could have been the events and characters or other aspects of the stories. So I decided on one of each, one content and one form element to support my interpretation. I think there's some diction I could focus on here, and there's an event that helps as well. Let's start with the event. From the story, Ray's mother says this. "Oh God, don't feel guilty," her mother says. "Give him a bottle already. You were all formula fed, and look how you turned out." In my paragraph, I have to provide context for the reader as to where this quotation came from, who said it, or when they said it. This is called contextualization. I can do this in one or two sentences, maximum, no more. So to contextualize, I might say, during a phone conversation with her mother, Ray confesses to the difficulty of breastfeeding. Her mother replies, "Note, since this last sentence is incomplete, I punctuate with a comma." Putting together the contextualization, the quotation or evidence, and some analysis, I might have something like this. During a phone conversation with her mother, Ray confesses to the difficulty of breastfeeding. Her mother replies, "Oh God, don't feel guilty. Give him a bottle already. You were all formula fed, and look at how you turned out." Her mother's imperative suggests she should be listening to others' instructions. Moreover, the command infers the social pressure new mothers face when it comes to avoiding formula. Society's expectations reinforce Ray's feeling that she is not in control of her body. And then there's this evidence. It's jarring and feels like a punch in the stomach. It jumps off the page. Again, I want to contextualize it. Here, readers have a good idea of when it occurs in the story. Note, also, that I have a complete sentence introducing it, so I've punctuated it with a colon. Putting it into sentences and adding my analysis of the evidence, it looks like this. On the first occasion Ray prepares to challenge the devil, it responds with an order. The word connotes a male-oriented gaze, even ownership of her body. It emphasizes the objectification of Ray's body. Again, Ray is commanded to subordinate her body to others' demands. You'll note in both examples, this and the previous slide, I've underlined the analysis indicator words. You don't need to do this. You just should use analysis indicator words. Also note that the quotation is followed by a citation, and the period for the sentence that the citation is in is after the citation. Finally, despite having the interpretation first, I've developed 2 points of support that I've presented as analysis. It's worth noting that neither point here is a complete paragraph. I would have to include introduction sentences and conclusion sentences to make whole paragraphs. Or I could combine these together to form a single paragraph since they're on the same topic.